As some of you know, Scourge Burning Abyss is one of my all-time favorite decks that I've created. I have taken it to many regionals. My friend actually got his first invite with this deck. I got an invite with this deck this previous season. I like it a lot. I've spent the most time testing it and deck building and theory-owing it. And when Terratop got hit on the ban list, I think a lot of people on my previous videos had commented if that happened, this deck would be dead. I don't think it is, and when Rat went to 2, I thought this deck could be good because then they couldn't one-card combo. Because, like, the big problem with this deck is that after you Scourge them, if they just, like, drew a Rat when the Rat was at 3, they could one-card combo. And then when I went to 2, I was like, oh, that's not a problem anymore. But obviously, like, the Lunalite Black Sheep sort of ruined that idea. Now, though, with Norden gone, Zodiac really can't draw one card to sort of come back off of your when you Scourge them. I mean, they make, like, a Trident, and that's pretty good, but that's about it. And also, Grass is now at 1, so this deck's worst matchup is now completely out of the game. No one's going to be playing Infernoids. And those matchup differences, I think, were worth trading for Terratop going to 1. So without further ado, let me talk about it, because the list is quite different from what I was playing the last couple times. But we do still, obviously, have 3 Scourge. So this is the main boss monster of the deck. If you don't know what this card does, you can pay 1,000 life points when it's on the field. Send all cards in both players' hands and fields to the grave, then you draw 1 card. The summoning condition is that you have to banish 3 dark fiends, I should say, and 1 light fairy. And that's kind of difficult. It goes off sometimes. We do have a couple light fairies, but in general, you're trying to send this to the graveyard and then copy its effect with Phantom of Chaos, which I'll put on the screen here now. So we are playing 3 Phantom of Chaos. If you don't know what this guy does, he can banish a monster in the grave to copy its name and effects and attack until the end of the turn. So what you're trying to do here is summon some Dantes, send a Scourge to the grave, summon a Phantom of Chaos, copy its effect, and then both players get rid of all their cards, you draw a card, and then it triggers all of your Burning Abyss effects. So usually, if the combo goes off, and it's still fairly consistent even without Terratop, but if the combo goes off, you'll have like 4 or 5 cards in hand to your opponent's 0, and that's pretty cool. So it's an easy way to get cheesy wins, and these are like the main cards of the deck. The rest is just trying to get to that sort of setup. We do have 1 tour guide. This card isn't that great going first because you often have to use your normal summon on Phantom of Chaos, but it's the main thing that you want to search off Scarm after you Scourge your opponent. For the Burning Abyss monsters, and if you haven't played this deck before, this might seem kind of weird, but we are playing 2 Scarm, 2 Farfa, and then just a whole bunch of one-ofs. So we have Graf, Seer, Barbar, Kelcab, Libic, and Alec. One of the reoccurring themes of this deck, and what I think is worth pointing out if you haven't played it before, is that we're only trying to play 2 of every card that's a hard once per turn. So that's like Farfa and Scarm and stuff. And with the Burning Abyss monsters in this deck, you're pretty much trying to use them just as names to special summon, especially now that Terratop is gone, and then make Dante with, because the Dante is the one you're trying to get to. These don't matter too much. I mean, Graf and Seer are kind of cool, but a lot of times you just special summon these from your hand. And we go through our entire deck pretty much on the first turn. Decking out is like half of my losses at regionals with this deck. So you'll see pretty much every card in your deck, and for that reason, you really don't want to have multiple copies of cards that are hard once per turns, like Scarm and Farfa. So yeah, that's sort of I don't think 3 Scarm is bad in like regular Burning Abyss, but as far as this one, where we just want to see a hand that's as diverse as possible, it's pretty bad. We are playing 2 Fiendish Rhino. This is probably the hardest card to cut to 2, even though it's a hard once per turn. This basically does everything you need it to. I know I say that about a lot of cards, but in this deck it's especially true, because you can send like Burning Abyss monsters to trigger their effects. You can also use this on the field to keep their Burning Abyss monsters from being destroyed. You can also send Phantom of Chaos to the grave to revive with Soul Charge. You can send Scourge with this card. It's just, this sets up all your plays. It's really incredible. The Fluffal engine is 2 Bear and 2 Wing. This is just the standard 4-card Fluffals, and then the 3 Toy Vendor as well. So it's 7 cards in the deck. The main idea here is that you, with having a Bear and a Wing, you get a bunch of cards out of your deck because you take a Toy Vendor out of your deck, and then you draw 2 and get another search, usually for the second Wing. After you use the Engrave Wing effect, and you're getting draws, and it's just really good. It builds up a lot of momentum. Wing is also the only I believe the only main deck, yeah, the only main deck light fairy. So this is the only main deck light fairy that you can banish for Sky Scourge if you want to do that. So that's the Fluffals. And then we are playing 2 Predaplant Scorpio and 1 Cobra. Now, this is kind of why I talked about how you really only want to play 2 copies of the hard once return effects, and because obviously you want to see this card, but you don't want to see multiples ever. And we have a lure to banish this. Thank God you can banish this with a lure. That's actually really cool, because if you bring this off of Levier, you can use its effect, because it's normal or special, and then the 1 Darling Cobra, this is kind of the brick, but it's whatever. So we are playing those, and then maybe the weirdest part is that we are still playing Terratop, so I don't think you should play this in like any other deck, but once again, in this deck, you almost always see your entire deck, and it doesn't even really matter if you like draw a Takatomborg first, because you'll probably see the Terratop later on when you Desires or Allure of Darkness or use Fluffal Wing effect, and I still think as a Saki 1-of, it's a really good card to play, and you do so much deck thinning and drawing that you'll probably see it. The last monster is 1 Stygian Sea Patrol. I was testing this in one of the live streams from like way back. We tested it for about 2 hours, and while I wasn't a fan of it back then, I think with just the 1 Terratop, you really have to play this card. One of the biggest problems with this deck is that you have to use your normal summon a Phantom of Chaos, and this is one of the ways that we can circumvent that, so I think it's worth playing. The best spell in the deck is Monster Reincarnation. This is sort of like a reverse Phoenix Rhino. While Phoenix Rhino sets up your graveyard, this fixes your hand. So you can use it to like discard Burning Abyss monsters or discard Sky Scourge especially, and then add back stuff like Phantom of Chaos if you need that, or you can add back like Fluffal Bear if you milled it. Like one of the better plays is like using this to discard Winged and add back Bear, because then it sets up the wing play by discarding the bear and setting Toy Vendor. This thing really just does everything, and for those of you that have watched you play this deck before on the many hours we spent doing live streams, you probably know why this card was just so important. But yeah, recycling stuff from the graveyard and getting stuff out of your hand is just so crucial. We are playing 3 Toy Vendor. You really go through all of these fairly often, especially because these are not once per turn effects as far as the searching goes. The on-field one is, but the milling effect is not when you, or the sending effect, I should say, is not once per turn. So whenever this is sent to the grave, you can search a Fluffal. If you already have Bear, you can add Wing. If you don't have Bear, you can add Bear. It just sets up all your stuff. It's one of the better mills in the deck, too. For the draw spells, we have 3 Allure. Obviously, like I said, banishing the Scorpio is really good off this, but you just want to deck thin as much as possible, and you can banish Phantom of Chaos and then bring back a Levier. Otherwise, we have 2 Pot of Desires. Yeah, it's a little riskier when we have like 2 Takatomborg type cards, but in general, none of the cards in this deck really matter in terms of like having multiple copies. So just Desires and get 2 draws, it's whatever. We also have 2 Transmodify. This is sort of the way to, once again, circumvent the fact that you have to normal summon Phantom of Chaos. You contribute a Burning Abyss monster to get the Phantom straight from your deck. It's pretty neat, and it triggers the Burning Abyss monster's effects, so it's good. And yeah, I mean, if you have just like really standard openings, you can set up the Sky Scourge play just with Transmodify. This is just, I mean, once again, it's a once per turn effect, so we don't want to play more than 2 copies, but it's a really good card to see. One new card that we're playing is Foolish Burial of Goods. So this card can send Toy Vendor. You only really need 2 Toy Vendors to operate. You're usually planning on milling the 3rd one through like a Dante effect, but this is just sort of like a way to cheese it into the graveyard and search Bear and get your deck going. So yeah, I like that as a 1-of. And then 1 Instant Fusion. This is the target for Scorpio. We're not playing Brilliant Fusion. I really want to try it out, obviously, and it's kind of cool because it's in wings and stuff, but Brilliant Fusion just isn't consistent enough for this deck, and really with this deck, you're just trying to make it as consistent as possible going first. But with Instant Fusion, you can summon a level 3 fusion monster that's also a wind, so if you have like Scorpio Takatomborg, that gets 2 Dantes on the field, and that's kind of neat. 1 Soul Charge, you basically just automatically win the game if you draw this because it gets a combo. Almost certainly, if your hand is like anything that's not terrible and you have Soul Charge, you get the combo off. So yeah, that's like the true Saki 1-of. 1 Foolish does everything Rhino does. A lot of times you send Rhino with the Foolish, actually. So that's it for the main deck. The extra deck is pretty close to what we're playing. I know the main deck changed a lot, but the extra deck is pretty straightforward. The 3 Dante, Beatrice, Pilgrim. This could be substituted for Nightmare Shark. I'm kind of back and forth on that. Nightmare Shark comes up a lot, but so does this, and I don't know. It's a hard decision. 3 Levier the Sea Dragon, the most important extra deck monster. Well, I guess in this deck Dante is a little more important, but this card's really important just for guiding back all the stuff that you banish with the Lure of Darkness. One Leviathan Dragon, crucial card. I know it seems like a meme, and also it's common, so it really seems like a meme. But this is important because you, like I said, half my losses at events with this were from decking out. And what happens is you get your opponent down to like no cards, and you need to kill them fast, but you don't want to keep milling with Dante because it needs to mill 3. So this one you can just attach, goes up 25, pretty useful. One Break Sword, you almost never use it, but when you're going second, obviously you want it. Acid Golem is good for closing out games, sort of like Leviathan, but it restricts you way more heavily. Grand Pulse is good for popping your own vendor when you're trying to combo off. That comes up every once in a while, so it's worth noting. One Mech Equipped. The only time you make this is, it's kind of a convoluted combo, but it is important because once again, we usually see all of our cards. But if you like need to summon the Sky Scourge, you can make a Mech Equipped with a Farfa underneath it, and then make another rank 3, and then overlay for F0, and that detaches a Farfa. Farfa can banish the F0 to send Mech Equipped, and because Mech Equipped is a fairy light, you can banish it for Sky Scourge. That might sound like something that'll never come up, but it certainly does, and it certainly has. You pretty much have to play these 2 cards. And then lastly, the Dragoness, the Wicked Knight. This is what you summon off Instant Fusion. Like I said, it's a win so that you can special summon Tagaton as well. And yeah, just in general helps make you rank 3, make rank 3s. So yeah, I like it a lot. And anyway, that was Sky Scourge Fluffal Burning Abyss with the June update. I actually think this deck is maybe the most well positioned it's ever been, even with Terratop Limited. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the deck profile. I'll see you later. Bye.